do tonight?
Today we did just more parabolas. Still kind of confused on it.
Okay.
Basically, it's
Let's do some
more
problems.
of the same
Let's see if we
problems.
can. Well, let's give me some more, and let's see if we can straighten out your confusion.
It says write an equation of a parabola with a vertex at the origin and the given focus. And the focus is -1, 0.
Okay, so there's our vertex. Our focus is right there. So what kind of parabola is it? Vertical or horizontal?
Horizontal.
And which way does it open, left or right?
Left.
Exactly. So we know that we're talking about this kind of a parabola, right? What is the standard equation for that kind of a parabola? What's the standard format? And remember, it's not y equal x squared. It's basically x equal y squared. But so where does the 4p go in front of?
I don't know. The notes she gave us in class doesn't have anything like that. I don't even know.
Okay, your class may not use the 4p designation. Not every school does. I bounced back and forth between these two different formats for many years, and finally it seemed like everybody went to the 4p format. But let me tell you how to figure it out. Let's start with what we know, we're familiar with. What's the equation of that in my upper right?
I'm not sure.
Y equal x squared. That's the standard vertical parabola with the vertex at the origin. Notice that it's y equal x squared. Now, if I wanted to write that in the format for conic section parabola, I'm going to put a 4p in front of the term that is not being squared. So I would do that. So this is really the standard. As long as it's vertical, and as long as it's at the vertex that's in the middle. Are all the problems we're going to do have a vertex at 0, 0?
Looks like it.
Okay. Then let's not worry about the other longer format. The other longer format would be this. 4p times y minus k equals x minus h squared. So that's the official format if it's not at the center. If it's at the center, we can ignore the k and the h and write it like that. So let's forget your problem for one moment and look at the one I just drew. On that parabola, what would p be? In other words, if y equals x squared and 4p times y equals x squared, what are you going to equate 4p to?
X squared over y.
No, the coefficient that's in front of y. right? This 4p is always the coefficient in front of the term that is not squared. So I'm going to say 4p is equal to 1 because there's a 1 in front of that y. So if 4p equals 1, p equals 1/4. So for this parabola, the focus would be right there at 0,1/4. Let's make sure you understand that 100%. In other words, we want to be able to start with an equation and have you figure out the focus. Let's start there. So here's the simplest one that we have, y equal x squared. You get what I'm doing here?
Not really.
All right. Y equals x squared is our equation. Okay? That's the equation for that parabola. The general format for a parabola with a vertex of 0, 0 is this. This is the general format. So to figure out what the focus, with p being the focus length. So if I want to see what p is, I'm going to equate that coefficient with this coefficient. And this coefficient is 1. So 4p has to equal 1.
Okay.
Let me give you another problem. Solve for p. If 8y equals x squared. What would 4p equal?
8y.
No, just the coefficient. Just 8. In other words, if the standard is this, the only difference is that's an 8 instead of a 4p. So I have to equate 4p to 8. So p would have to be 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Not done. Tell me what p is now. Get it in standard format first.
So multiply by 2.
Yep. So 2y equals x squared. Now that's in this format right there. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's 4p equal to?
2.
And p is equal to?
A half.
Okay, now you got it. So no matter how they give you the equation, you have to convert it to that format. In other words, if they give it to you like this, then it's already in that format. I just equate 2 to 4p. But if they give it to me like this, y equals 3x squared, it's not in that format. I got to divide both sides by 3 to get 1/3 y equals x squared. And now what is p going to be?
One third is
No,
4p.
4p is
So
1/3.
1/12.
Yes. So that's all we're doing is we're taking these equations and we're manipulating them so we get it into that exact format if it's a vertical parabola. If it's a horizontal parabola, then the format is this. 4px equals y squared. The 4p always goes as the coefficient of the variable that is not being squared. It's one way to remember it. Okay, so let me give you an equation like this. It's the focus. What's p? When I say p, I really mean the focal length, because that's not where the focus always is. It's always there if the vertex is at 0, 0, but p is the distance from the vertex to the focus. That's all it is. So what is, p is 1. We're equating 4p to 4. Now this is a sideways parabola, but the thing is the same. In other words, this is the sideways parabola, this is the vertical parabola. So let me erase my original one that I started with. Now, we know this is a sideways parabola because I can get that information from the vertex and the focus. If that's my vertex and that's my focus, this has to be a parabola that does that, because the focus is always on the inside of the parabola. And the focal length is?
-1? No.
Yeah. No, that's correct. -1. P is -1. So now, let's write what the equation is. We know it's that kind of an equation, because it's sideways, it's not vertical. And we know P is -1. So what's our equation?
Hold on.
Plug in -1 for P.
-1? Yeah.
Yes.
-4?
So -4x equal y squared gives us that parabola precisely. In other words, if we started, in other words, we're going backwards here. If we started with that, if I gave you this equation, and I said, what's the focus? You would equate it to this. You would let 4p equal -4. You'd come up with p equals -1. Well, they gave us p equals -1 when they gave us this information. So it's easy enough to go back the other direction to come up with this equation that I have circled. Now, I could write this differently. If you prefer, I can write x equal -1/4 y squared. That's the more typical way to write it. But that's not in the general format either. The general format is 4px equals y squared. Okay, you got another one?
Yeah, same problem, but focus is at 0, -5.
What kind of parabola is this? Here's the vertex. Here's the focus. What kind of parabola? Vertical, horizontal, up or down?
Vertical?
Up or down?
Down.
So that's what we're looking at. So we're going to use this as our general equation. P is what?
-5.
So what's our equation?
-20y equals x squared.
Yep. And again, if the teacher wants you to put it as a y equals, then I got to divide both sides by -20, and I get that. So either of those that I have circled is the correct answer to this problem.
Okay.
Okay? What else you got? I'm going to erase that now. So we're going to depend on your memory for these two standard formats.
So it says write an equation of a parabola opening upward with a focus 1/8 of a unit from vertex.
Like that. Okay? So what's the general format?
Four x equals y squared.
What's the general format with the p in there?
4p equals x squared.
Remember the 4p goes in front of the variable that is not being squared. So it's 4py equals x squared. That's the general format that we're looking for. And they're telling us that p is what?
1/8.
Okay, so what's my equation?
1/2 y equals x squared.
Yeah. Or y equal 2x squared. When they're going the other way, they're most likely going to give it to you like that. So you have to make sure that you take that equation they give you and get it into this format by dividing both sides by 2. In other words, we got to get it into some number in front of the y equals x squared, and then p is the focal length that they've given us. Okay, what else you got? We started 10 minutes late. Go ahead, sorry.
So identify the focus and the directrix of the graph of each question or equation. It's y equals 1/4 x squared.
Vertical or horizontal?
Vertical.
Okay, so let's put it, what's the standard format for a vertical parabola? What's the general format?
4py equals x squared.
Okay, so let's get this equation into that format. What do I got to do?
Multiply by 4.
So now I got 4y equal x squared. What's p?
1.
Okay, so the focus is 1. Vertex is at the center. It opens up. It's flatter than normal. The focus is right there at 0, 1. Where's the directrix? And what's the equation of the directrix?
Y equals -1.
Good. Okay. Want to do one more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing, but y equals -1/8 x squared.
Vertical, horizontal?
Be vertical again.
Opening up or down?
Down.
Put it into standard format?
multiply by 8.
By negative 8.
Negative 8.
See why? Because we got to get it into some number in front of the y is equal to x squared. Not minus x squared, but x squared.
Okay.
So what's p?
1, no. 4p. Negative 2.
So where's the focus?
Negative, no. Not sure.
Right there. See that? Once I come up with a p of negative 2, it's negative 2 from the vertex, straight down. And it's on the axis of symmetry that we're measuring it. So the x-coordinate stays at 0, but the y-coordinate is minus 2 of the focus. And what's the directrix, the equation of the directrix?
Y equals 2.
Yep. All right, let's pick this up tomorrow night.
Okay.
Okay? All right, I think you're getting it. It feels like you are. You just got to remember those standard formats.
Okay.
Okay? Talk to you tomorrow, Silas.
Okay.